It's kind of bittersweet tonight. Tonight's our last of this series. And Spain is a country that I absolutely love and adore. I mean, my first trip to Spain was in 1973 when Franco was in power, which was a
Ooh.
very strange and different time. But, fortunately, Spain has, changed, and it's just the most wonderful, beautiful, welcoming, fabulous people, incredible food, great architecture, amazing history. I mean, everything that you could possibly, no matter what you like to do, Spain has it all for you. And tonight, I'm very happy to have Jesus Repetto, who is the co-founder and CEO of Titanium Tours. They specialize in Spain and Portugal and just do an absolute fabulous, wonderful job. I've used them for clients, for many, many trips. And just recently they started expanding to France a little bit. So, if you're going to do the Pyrenees and stuff, we can even, kind of include all of that together. So I am going to turn this over to Jesus, who does a fabulous job and a dear friend. Jesus, take us away to Spain.
Awesome. Very excited to do so. Thank you, Sandy, for having us, having me tonight. And hi, everybody. I am very excited to share with you about my country. I was born and raised in Spain and then educated in San Francisco, as Sandy knows. But let me put on this presentation for you. All righty. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
All right. So Spain is so big and diverse. There's so much to cover. There's so much to do that I've selected just a few of my favorite places to share with you guys. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the Basque Country in the north. That would be, up here. Then we're going to talk about Barcelona, and hopefully, even if you've been there, show you things that you might not know about. I want to talk to you.
Jesus, oops. You need to, okay, you're good. I
Yeah,
just muted everybody. I just accept you got to get back. Okay, sorry.
No problem. So, so I want to talk to you about Mallorca because it's probably a lesser known place and it's just enchanted and beautiful, and about my home state of Andalusia. So let me start with the Basque Country. How would I describe the Basque Country? The Basque Country is poetic. It is a world of contrast. It's country roads and fishing villages and nature, vineyards. Some of you are tasting one of their wines today, the Chacoli wines or Chacolina. It's home to the town of Guernica, which Picasso immortalized in his magnificent, huge painting of some of the terrors of the Civil War there. Also home to the Guggenheim. And the Basque Country is home to what many consider the best food in Spain. So it's definitely a culinary adventure there. So talking about small villages, here is one. This is Getaria. It's a medieval fishing village with the contrast between you have a medieval downtown with the cobblestones and the stone buildings, and then you have it contrasting with very colorful fishermen's houses and buildings. Getaria is also the area where the Chacoli or Chacolina wine is produced. And it's all these vineyards, just like this one, sloping down towards the ocean with, magnificent views. So when you go visit a vineyard and you go taste their wines, it's an unreal experience. Another town that it's very worth visiting is San Juan de Gaztelugatxe. And if you are a Game of Thrones fan, you might recognize this as Island Fortress of Dragonstone from season 7. This is where it was filmed. So up 241 steps of this winding path, you reach the top where the Church of San Juan is. And a fun fact is that right underneath the San Juan Church, which has been rebuilt many, many times, there are caves where the Inquisition used to imprison the witches that they would capture. So little island, very rich in history. Another fishing town that is really interesting is Hondarribia. Hondarribia has got the same sort of feel that Getaria with the medieval downtown and the colorful fishermen's houses, but it also has the uh, best remaining fortified walls around the city. So it's definitely a very interesting town to see. Moving on to the bigger cities, you know, many people have heard of San Sebastian. San Sebastian is it's different than what we've just seen. It's opulent, it's sophisticated. This was the summer home for the very, very wealthy and during the Belle Epoque. So right around the beach, there's mansions everywhere. So it's also very interesting to see. And then
Don't they have
Bilbao.
a major film festival in San Sebastian?
That's right. San Sebastian's got the major film festival. That's right. And then this is Bilbao. Bilbao is just another contrast within the Basque Country. It's the mixture of tradition and modern. So this building you're looking at is the Guggenheim Museum, which is a Frank Gehry building. And Bilbao is the center of the arts for the Basque Country. Another really cool stop is the Aquelarre restaurant. This is by chef Pedro Subijana, and he's got 3 Michelin stars. And he also does cooking classes where you go with some of his staff to the market and then you cook it in the kitchen, or you can just go and enjoy a meal. But it's, and Aquelarre means witchcraft. So since this whole area is sort of mystical like that. Another really cool thing is right off of the coast of Bilbao, we have an underwater winery, which is the only one in the world. And they have, this family has, you know, figured out how to age their wines underwater. So you can go and see how they do this, and you can see in this picture how they have the wine bottles in cages, and they lower them into the ocean. That, you know, they say it's got the temp, you know, you always have the same humidity because you're in the water, and you know, the temperature is more constant underwater than over you know, on the ground. So anyways, they created this science. It's the only underwater winery in the world. And pinchos is what Basque people call tapas. So when you hear, you know, think of tapas in Spain, in the Basque Country, we call them pinchos. So this is a great way to explore the Basque cuisine in little, you know, morsels at a time. So I'm going to move on to the islands. So islands, and in the Balearic Islands in the Mediterranean, we have a set of islands. Fun fact, this is also where mayonnaise comes from. One of the smaller islands is called Mahon, and the sauce they created was mayonesa, which became what we call nowadays, you know, mayonnaise. So anyways, Mallorca it's enchanting because it's got all these villages that seem like they're trapped in time, with this, you know, rock streets and rock buildings, all adorned with very colorful flowers and greenery everywhere. The other appealing thing in Mallorca is all this hundreds of coves surrounding the island with turquoise waters and white sandy beaches, and it's got, you know, great temperatures, Mediterranean temperatures, you know, a lot of the year around. And one of the most fun things that you can do there is sailing with the skipper, and also, you know, a chef, or, you know, bring some gourmet food that, you know, we provide, and, you know, cava and what have you. Then you just sail around the islands in the Mediterranean. It's quite beautiful. Barcelona, it's hard to talk about because so many people think they know or they've seen a lot of Barcelona. So I hope to show you a few new things. Barcelona is cosmopolitan, it's modern, it got its origins in the textiles industrial revolution. And fashion was always a very big part of Barcelona. It was also the refuge for all the artists during the Civil War and during Franco's dictatorship. So Barcelona became the haven for all the fashion and the arts. So it's very rich in history, very eclectic. Um, some of my favorite places in Barcelona is the Gothic Quarter, which you might have heard of, which I find is just fairy tale like. With this, all this buildings, they look like castles, and this is just their homes, right? And something you might not know is right underneath the Museum of the City of Barcelona, there is a whole Roman um, ruins excavation. So you just go down, a story, and you're walking through the Roman Barcelona from, millennia, 2 millennia ago. So I find that fascinating. Everybody knows Gaudi, and a lot of people that go to Barcelona, they go to some of his buildings like the Casa Batlló, the Sagrada Familia. But he's got other works that are less accessible, but they're just lesser known and beautiful in their own way. So this is Torre Berescar, and it's in Barcelona. And as you can see, it's also very fairy tale like, very much in all his style. And here, for example, in one of this, you can see the inside. We do something, we call it's a wine and music pairing, where you taste 5 different wines, each one of them paired to a live musical piece. And then we have a chef that prepares a meal with all the regional, delicacies and so forth. Montserrat is another really interesting stop. It means, the name Montserrat means serrated mountain. And on the side of the serrated mountain, there is this 9th century monastery, which also has one of the oldest boys choirs in Europe, dating us back as the 14th century. So this is another one, and it's surrounded by a natural park, so the views are phenomenal. Another fun experience we do in Barcelona is with this Michelin star chef, Jordi Artau. We go to one of the farms where he sources his produce, and then, he explains why he picks the different, kinds of, and you get dirty with him and you pick up the produce, and then we take you to, a professional kitchen where he does the demonstration, and obviously followed by a meal. And this is the region for Priorat wine. So the Priorat wine that some of you are drinking today, it's grown right around where Montserrat monastery is, right underneath it. So this is what it looks like. Spain has a long tradition with horses. I'm myself an equestrian, so I had to put something about horses in here. And I actually, this is a friend of mine who owns a ranch 45 minutes north of Barcelona, and they do this really different kind of experience where it's not about a trail ride. This is about, it's psychologically based. They have a psychologist on staff, so they create something where you learn about yourself as you learn about the horse. So it's like a bonding experience, and it's very different, very unique. So here's my home state, Andalusia. So what to tell you about Andalusia? So Andalusia is food, is joy, is jovial people. The rest of the country makes fun of us because of our accent, because we use the TH sound a little bit too harshly. They all think we're really funny. And it's just rich in cultural and history. This is Sevilla. This is my home city where I grew up, and I'm gonna spend a little bit of time here telling you about some of the cool things that we do as Sevillanos. Something you might not know is in April, we have this festival. Spaniards, we love festivals. Some of us run in front of bulls and things like that. So we're a little bit more civilized in the southern part of Spain. So this festival, it's a week long in April, and we all, the men get on their suits and the women put on their flamenco dresses, and for a whole week straight, we dance, we drink, we talk, we eat, and into the wee hours in the morning, then we do it again the next day. And during between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., it's horse time. So there's the Paseo de Caballos, so the walkway of the horses. So children and adults, there's a good couple thousand horses going through the streets. And so that you can see that a true Spaniard, here on the right, you'll see me at 17 with my gray horse and my mother in her flamenco dress. So that's a few years ago, 30 actually. So oops, there we go. One of my favorite experiences we do in all of Spain is one of our traditions in Sevilla is this, what we call Manila shawls. There are silk shawls that are hand embroidered, and it takes them 4 or 5 months to just finish one of them. They sell for thousands of dollars. And we take people to the home of this lady who's been doing this for generations. You learn it from her mother, who learned it from her mother, and you get to try your hand at embroidering one of these shawls. So it's very intimate, definitely very unique experience. Now moving on to Granada. Granada is, home to the Alhambra Palace, which is a World Heritage Site. It's hard to describe. This picture says it all. It's such different, intricate architecture that the Arabs left in Spain, and it's something you have to see once in your lifetime, in my humble opinion. Then in Granada, if you're going to see a flamenco show, rather than go to a place with a big stage and a lot of other tourists, what we do in the outside of the city, there's this neighborhood with lots of caves. And there in the caves, they perform, the flamenco for a more intimate setting. So you're actually, sitting right there, right next to the dancers, and when they're singing and tapping and playing their castanets. Cordoba is about an hour and a half north of Sevilla, and you might be familiar with this picture, which is the mosque. But what I wanted to talk to you about was something even more interesting. In the month of May, it's a great time to go to Cordoba because the Cordobese people will fill the streets with flowers of all colors. This is the street through the town, and they put all this pots and flowers everywhere, and the city just comes alive in color. And also Spain or Andalusia especially, is a great place to go play golf. We have more golf courses per capita in Andalusia than we do in much of mainland Europe, definitely most of the rest of Spain. And this is a picture of Valderrama, which is the only course outside of the US and the UK where a Ryder Cup has ever been played, which is, we have access to. So this is it. These are my people. We love to eat, we love to drink, we love to laugh, we love to dance, and we would love for you to come dance with us. Thank you.
This is great. Right. Can we,
Stop sharing?
Yeah, stop the sharing. Okay. That was great. Oh my God, I want to go back to Spain so badly. This is just amazing. Well, let's see, if you go in April and stay to May, you get to see the festival in Sevilla, and then you go to Cordoba and you get to see the flowers. So if you go in the end of April and the beginning of May, can you do both?
You could do different. There are smaller ferias in other towns, so we could do that. Depends on the year. Right. We try. So May Day is a holiday, so they try to put the feria towards the end of April, so that people at least have a day. They don't have to go to work hangover.
Gotta love the Europeans with their very long vacation, generous vacation days. Okay, some questions. Let's see. Try to unmute everybody. All right, so you can unmute yourself. Judy, you're muted, Judy.
I know, I unmuted.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I had plans to go to the Basque Country, which is the only main part of Spain that I haven't been to before. I love Spain. I was supposed to go in August. It's postponed now to April. What is it looking like in Spain now about travel next year, or is it best to go in 22 or after?
I think we'll be able to, get travel back probably sometime May, June of next year. I think anything earlier than that, as much as I would love for everybody to come, is probably premature. Yeah. Most of the requests that we're getting from people are also for that time frame, May, June, for next year.
We got our fingers crossed. I have a river cruise group in Portugal in June, which fingers crossed we'll be able to go.
I think by June we should be okay, but who knows?
That would be great.
We'll think positively.
Yes. Michaela.
I have a question about where the horse retreat is. We're used to driving 45 minutes north to Cataquey and other places. So is it east in the west in the hills?
It's east. It's west, sorry. Yes, east would be the water. Yeah, sorry. Yes, west. It's west. Yeah. I don't remember the actual town, but I can find out for you.
That's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions about Spain?
Hey, Sue, I have a silly question, actually.
All right, silly question.
A silly question, and I just actually am curious. My kids lived in Spain and we studied. I have exchange students from Spain. So we spent a lot of time over there, but I'm just curious about the toothpicks in the tapas. So I was told that the pricing of the tapa is the size of the toothpick. Is that true?
That's correct, in the Pinchos world, yes.
Wow.
Not in the rest of Spain, but in the Pinchos world it is, yeah.
Ah, okay. So the taller the toothpick, the higher the price. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I wasn't
That's
sure
not
that
silly at all.
was true when I
That's
was
a fun fact.
What's that?
I think that's a fun fact. That's not
It's
silly
a
at all.
fun fact. Well, we were told that as we were going through Barcelona with friends and our friends who live in Malaga. And so I said, come on, that is so silly. And they said, no, it really is the truth. And so when my husband and I were exploring on our own, I said, don't forget the height of the toothpick is going to determine the price. And so, okay, well, I'm glad to know that that's really a fun fact.
It reminds me like dim sum, the size of the dishes is how they price it.
Exactly what I was going to say, Sandy. It's like going for dim sum.
Or sushi plates. The very sushi plate is different.
That's right. Michaela.
So one of my unanticipated favorite experiences in Barcelona was the Maritime Museum at the foot of Las Ramblas. I grew up in Denver and I could spell ship, but I didn't know anything about it. And going through it was fascinating. And the 3 ships that Christopher Columbus took over here were 3 different hull designs. And I'm a finance person, and so that brings new meaning to portfolio diversification. And Catherine of Aragon built it, and it's gorgeous and informative.
I'm glad you liked it.
Great. There's I don't know how many people have been to Barcelona, but one of the things besides going to see where the Olympics were, and there's the Miró Museum, but there's also am I pronouncing it right? Jesus Tibidoa?
CJs?
No, the amusement park that's on top of the.
Oh.
I have a mug that from it. It's like Tibidabo or Tibidoa. Tibidabo. And it's really amazing. It was built like probably in the 20s or the 30s. So it's got that very old kind of, all the rides are fine. They're up to date modern, but it has that charm, and you're way on top of this hill. It's very high up. And then we did the Ferris wheel. It's like you're basically touching the sky. So it's kind of like and you take a cable car up to the top, to get up there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a fun, different kind of thing to do when you're in Barcelona as well. And also, if you go up to where the Olympics are, there's it's a cable, not more than a cable car, but it's a beautiful, you know, you take one of these kind of trammy things up, like you do to
Yeah.
Table Mountain, and
Montjuic, yeah.
yeah, and it's just gorgeous views over all of Barcelona. So there's some really, you know, different kind of fun things that you can do. And then in the Gothic quarter is also the old Jewish ghetto. So, you know, there's a lot of Jewish history there, for people who, you know, I mean, it's just, Barcelona is one of my most favorite cities. I mean, you could just walk down any street and the architecture is just incredibly gorgeous. I mean, Gaudi was, Gaudi, as they say, was just amazing, but there were so many other students and influences and everything. I mean, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, we have a lot of Jewish history.
Yeah,
all around Spain.
I'm sorry. The front of his house, the balconies look like skeletons, right, or skulls or something like that on the front of them, where the purple grapes.
Scales. It's scales of a dragon.
And then there's grapes that are painted on there too. It's beautiful.
Apartment building and stuff. It's just really famous. Okay, any other questions for Jesus?
I just wanted to make a comment.
Oh, well, Lois.
Jesus, when you were talking about the Basque area, did that include Galicia? Because I noticed most of it was on the coast.
No, I didn't cover Galicia. No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's definitely worth it. It's just, you know, I didn't want to cover the whole country and make you guys dizzy.
Because most people don't realize that they're Celtic.
Oh.
Yes, that is correct.
Lois is our Scotch expert.
Okay.
Celtic expert.
Yes.
Celtic. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the 7
Galicia
Celtic
has a
nations.
huge Celtic, you know, tradition and history, and it's fascinating.
I saw one of the bagpipers in Glasgow from Galicia.
Okay.
And it was very, very good. It was exciting that we got to get in there and see it.
Yeah, it's the only part of Spain we have bagpipers. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so we saw where the grape from Takalina is grown, and we saw the grapes from where this fabulous red wine. So I'm going to turn this over to Warren. But Warren, Ginger has a decanted and non-decanted samples of the wine. So it'll be really interesting to see what she has to say about that. So Warren, let's taste some of this delicious stuff that you've been having us get all excited about.
Well, thank you, Sandy. We have been talking about this for a few weeks, if not for a couple of series. I'm excited about tonight. We can turn it over to Ginger. There's no reason why. So, I mean, you know, as we heard earlier, I mean, you saw, you know, the region, you know, up north where Chocolina, Chocoli is from. This is a very interesting wine that we decided to pick. Hopefully, you know, unfortunately, we haven't had the warm outdoor weather here in the Bay Area that, you know, ordinarily you'd be out on the deck drinking this wonderful Chocolina. But I thought it would be a wonderful, fresh summer wine, sort of a departure. Show of hands, how many people have ever heard of a Chocolina or even had drunk one until now? Well, that's 3 more people than me.
Wow, George, I didn't know that. Wow.
And you know, but until about 6 months ago, I hadn't had one. And Chelsea, whom some of you had met from when we did Quinta de la Rosa in the very, very first series, introduced me to this wine from Urazola. And it's a wonderful wine. You've got a very light, fresh, semi-effervescent. Did you notice the sparkling, sort of that frizzante nature in the wine? So, you know, this is just a lovely Tuesday night wine. I know tonight's Monday night. Well, we mean sort of like just a very popular, you know, wine to grab and drink and quaff. It's a wine, those of you who cooked, you'll notice it goes very, very well with a multitude of foods because, you know, most sparkling wines indeed do. And it's a, you know, it's a lovely wine, got a lot of fragrance and a lot of interesting, nature to it, and just a wine that's lovely. Varietals I'd never heard of, Petit Corvu, and which I mean, may have a little bit in the Languedoc in France, but primarily this varietal called Hondar Abizuri, which, you know, is really, you know, something I'd never heard of. But these come from the highest altitude vineyards there, and 1,200 feet above sea level, pretty high. You guys saw the photographs. It's it's all hand harvested. This is not wine that you can take a John Deere tractor up on those very, very steep slopes and the vines very, very close together. And typical vinification, the wines are fermented on the lees and in stainless steel tanks, and then for several weeks they stay in contact on the lees, and then they release it pretty young, bottled and stored for only several weeks before they release it. And again, you can look at the color. They're beautiful, clear, pale wine. It's got a little bit of sort of those green tints to it, which is reflected in the glass of the bottle. But I think a beautiful nose. I mean, for me, it's almost like that honeysuckle quality we've had in some of the Loire Valley wines, tropical fruit, some papaya in there, maybe even some passion fruit, just real complexity, color, and just a beautiful balanced wine. Great acid, low alcohol, only 11% alcohol, and because it's got a bit of sweetness to it, it'll actually work very, very well with some spicy dishes. So in the Basque area, we heard a little bit earlier about the food. There are plenty of spicy foods up there, and this wine with a little bit of a sweetness to it and a little bit of effervescence to it will go very, very well with the traditional shellfish and seafood and stuff, but also would work well with Thai food and curries and things of that nature. So I just think it's a lot of fun to share a wine that is just really, really interesting and different. And George, I'll come over to your house for some of those fried melts, and we can try the Cioccolina.
That sounds good.
So any questions or comments on the white? I mean, it's just I think just a really fun wine.
George, where did you first experience Cioccolina?
We discovered they make a really nice rosé, which we discovered, I don't know, Kelly, what, a year or two ago?
Oh.
And something like that. And it's just it's also, the rosé has also got a little effervescence like this wine does. And it's also a lower alcohol like this wine is. And I would call it, like Warren, like you mentioned, it's a great quaffing wine. You can drink it alone. It's more of a warm weather wine. You can drink it alone.
I discovered it with Connie Levy in New York at a tapas restaurant on the Upper West Side. And the two of us drank the entire bottle and didn't even feel a buzz. And it was so delicious.
So
are you trying to do shadow animals or something there? What, do you have a projector behind you, Stan? What's going on?
Who, me?
I'm not sure what is. Oh, I'm not sure what you're seeing. I just wanted to mention about Cioccolina that I discovered it in a restaurant, and the way I discovered it was the least expensive white wine on their list. So, and much to my delight, it was delicious. So I've been a Cioccolina fan since then. Plus, I love teaching people how to pronounce TX.
Totally. I have a question, Warren, about whether or not you have more of this wine available. We've got friends with deep family roots from San Sebastian, and I'd like to share it with them.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, as George mentioned, I think we have the white today. The white and the rosé is available. It's plenty of it. It should be no issue to be able to put a case together. There's plenty of this.
Good, thank you.
And it's the beauty of it, it's a very modestly priced wine. I don't, if I'm not off the top of my head, I think if it's $16 or $17, that's a lot. I mean, something like that. I mean, it's not a particular, I may be off by, dollar here or there. It's the mad cow. I can't remember anything anymore.
So I have a confession. I opened this wine last week
and
had it with the salt baked fish. So now I have to go make fish again to have with the Gaia.
But you had fish with fish, Ginger, so that was okay.
Well, but my local wine store, I was there looking for a Viognier for something I was doing last Thursday, and they had this at $20 a bottle. So I bought another bottle so that I could have it tonight.
All right, Ginger. I wasn't going to tell Ginger, but you owned up.
That's okay. I mean, the guy, but it's funny because when I first heard Chocolina, I mean, I'm not from the Basque region of Spain. I'm not Spanish. Initially, my first reaction was, that's a Greek wine.
Well, when I was putting it in the cellar, it looked like a Greek wine, so I put the two together.
But now obviously I stand corrected and I know better. But I think it's a lovely wine. I think that the Gaia, I think, is a very different kind of wine, Ginger. It's a much more complex wine, much more elegant and more complexity and depth and aging to it. That's more of a Friday night wine. But I think that this Chocolina is terrific. So anyway, so that's the white, but I tell you, I am most excited about the red. I mean, this Ferrer Bobet, this Priorat red. I mean, just look at the color on that wine. I mean, it's that beautiful dark ruby garnet color, consistent all the way through, very deep, luscious wine on the nose. Just those beautiful red fruits, the fragrant nature of this wine. And I mean, again, this is a wine that's relatively new to me. Several months ago, one of the reps I work with gave me, an importer gave me a bottle, said, I know you like Spanish wine, Warren, and, try this one. And I'm a big fan of the Mas Doix wines from the Priorat. They tend to use very old vines. This wine comes from 100-year-old vines. But the Mas Doix 1902 from Priorat is about a $300 bottle of wine. And this bugger is not. So and I tasted this wine and it just blew my mind. I'm like, I absolutely love this wine, and it's a wine that is just extraordinary with robust red meats. I think, Ginger, you made stew, but I like to eat it with a big with steak or ossobuco, or I mean this wine for me was just extraordinary. And then I said, okay, well, let me look up a little bit about it. And I find, 2014 is not a wine that you usually find. I mean, this is now 6 years old. The current vintage is 16, 18. When I called the importer and I said, tell me about the wine. And he basically said, well, it's a wonderful wine. We're on to the 16. The distributor doesn't want it anymore. I'll do you a deal. And cut a long story short, I bought the last 75 cases available in America. Wow. I've never done that before. So I'm like the Hunt brothers in the silver market. I have caught the market on this wine.
If you want this wine, you better order.
This wine used to cost me, and I've bought several cases of it in the past at $40 a bottle wholesale. But I buying out the entire inventory, I'm now able to offer this wine at $40 a bottle all in retail. So it's an extraordinary value. I think in the mouth, just beautifully tannic. You can see, even though it's 14, it's still young, it's still vibrant, still got a lot of life. There's probably 10 years left at least in this wine, maybe 15 years of aging. I think, Ginger, I'd like to hear your comments, but I recommend it because of the tannic structure, because of how big and bold the wine is, to let it breathe for 2 to 4 hours. I actually opened mine at 11 o'clock this morning because I went off to play in a golf tournament. And here I come back now several hours later, and I'm like amazed at how it is. Connie's making Zuni chicken tonight, and I think it's going to be awesome with this wine. And just a big, bold, beautiful wine. But when I looked it up, and I'm not a points guy, I never talk about points. But when I saw that Janssens Robinson gave it 18 out of 20, and Suckling gave it 96, and Parker gave it 95, and Jeff Dunnick gave it 92. I'm like, well, there's a little bit of validation there. So I'm very proud of this wine. I'm proud that I was able to discover this wine and find it and procure so much of it, and be able to offer it to all of you guys. So, I'm curious. I mean, Ginger, you've got the decanted and undecanted. So what do you think? And anyone else, what do you think of this wine? Because I think it's, well, no one cares.
I really liked it when I opened it. I was like, why am I decanting this? Because I'm often not a fan of decanting, but it was a big wine. And then I decanted for about an hour in a big wine glass. So half the bottle in a big wine glass. And then I put it in a little 375 thing to go to Lori and David's. And the decanted was so much softer.
Oh, good to know.
And yeah, and even the undecanted that's been in my glass for 20 minutes or so is just that little harshness at the back of your throat is gone. And I'm just really enjoying it. That's my highly technical.
Okay, so how many people decanted the wine versus not? All right, good. All right, that's good. That's good.
Follow instructions.
Decanted enough to drink tonight, that is.
I'll be honest, I didn't even open it because it, you know, two bottles of wine for one person was enough, but I did put a little note in my little cellar to around the bottle to when I open it to decant it 2 to 4 hours before.
Now, Matt, did you have some of this before? Did I give you some of this in a mixed case earlier, Matt? You've had it before, right?
I did, and I love it. And I think it's delicious. And I also decanted it this time. And it definitely needs to breathe. Once it breathes, it's delicious.
Matt, did you decant it the first time you tried it?
The first time I did not, but I don't usually tackle a whole bottle in one night. So the first night I thought, oh, this is pretty good. Maybe Warren knows what he's talking about. But then the second night, I pulled the cork on it again, and it was much better.
Wow.
Now, you know, Matt, you can decant a wine. You don't have to drink it all. They have this new invention called a funnel where you can pour it back in the bottle.
You don't have to drink it all?
I've yet to have a storage problem on a bottle of wine because it's very rare that
you probably don't even own a
bottle
funnel
or two and have any left over.
You probably don't even own a funnel.
Yeah, I'm teasing, of course, but you know, you should, you know, particularly with big tannic red wines of this nature, you shouldn't be shy to put the cork in it and let it sit. I mean, even to put it in the fridge, you know, overnight and then bring it back to room temperature the next day. These big high tannic, and if you know what I mean by tannic, sort of that, you know, that puckering feeling that you get in your mouth that sort of subsides with decanting or with age. You know, young Bordeaux, young Burgundy, you know, young red wines tend to have that tannic structure, which allows them to age more. So it's much more pleasant when you get that beautiful velvet, silky mouth feel after things soften over a few hours or even a few days.
Oh, I can't wait to try that one now. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And Matt, I haven't forgotten about you. I've still got your champagne in the garage. I'll make a plan.
I was wondering where you were.
I know.
He was drinking it at that underwater place.
I know. With the smoke and everything, I've sort of been staying inside the house, not driving all over the Bay Area.
It's okay.
I apologize.
I'm doing good with my case of Farrah Bobette.
All right. Excellent.
Among others. Yeah.
So Sandy and Warren, are you going to do another series of this? This is so much fun.
Well, I think we are. I mean, people are really enjoying it. And just so you know, I mean, it'll probably be latter part of October. We're going into the Jewish holidays, so that'll take it up. And I am going to Cabo San Lucas in the beginning of October. So I am going to be taking photos at the airport, photos on the plane, photos on what it's like with safety protocols at a very beautiful high-end resort in Cabo. So you can follow me and see what it's like. For those of you that are feeling a little bit more comfortable to travel with certain restrictions and may want to go away over the holiday season, you can see what happens to me. And you can follow it. I'll be posting a lot. So when I get back from Cabo the night of the 10th, so sometime after that, we'll get started again. So Warren and I will put our heads together, and certainly please post, either send me an email or post in the Facebook group some places that you might be interested in, and we'll see what we can match up between Warren's amazing cellar collection and some of your desires, and and let's keep going. We might as well keep traveling. I mean,
Well, yeah,
this is fabulous.
We talked a little bit about it, Sandy, right? As
Yeah,
maybe
we did.
revisiting France and maybe doing sort of Champagne Chablis. We can also, you know, we talked about maybe Germany. We talked about, I think we did
Chile.
Chile. We talked about New Zealand. We've done Australia.
Right.
You know, there are just, you know, numerous places we can go.
In Croatia.
Right, Croatia.
And Croatia is open to travel to U.S. citizens, so you can actually go to Croatia
Well,
now.
interesting. We're going to Croatia tomorrow, I think. Are we not, Lisa? I think I'm doing Croatia. You know, we're actually using wines from Puglia in Italy for Croatia, because Croatian wines are not the easiest to source. But then you know, the grapes don't know that someone put a line on the map and said, this is Italy and this is Croatia, or this is Austria and this is Germany. The grapes don't know, but yeah, Croatia, Chile might be interesting. There are some a lot of different options of places we can go.
We're doing Croatia tomorrow. Yeah, it's beautiful. If you haven't been, for all of the travelers, I'm sure Sandy would love to put together a tour there. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, Croatia's fabulous.
And the wine
I went to Zagreb. Gosh, it's got to be almost 25 years ago now. When I was doing consulting for the World Conference on Religion and Peace, right at the end of the war. There, we were in Zagreb, and then we went down to Sarajevo, where this conference was supposed to happen. That was pretty interesting, going to places where there were no hotels in Sarajevo, and you know, Zagreb, there were still bullet holes in the wall and stuff. It was pretty interesting. But oh my God, what a beautiful place!
Zagreb is like what Prague was more than 20 years ago.
Yeah, Zagreb was just walking the streets.
It's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. Wonderful food.
Yeah, one of them, great people. A lot of the medieval architecture in many places. And it's fairy to Hansel and Gretel territory. I mean, it's just gorgeous.
So I was in Zagreb in 1967.
Oh my God!
And I stopped there on my way to Greece on the southern extension of the Orient Express when I was a student in London at the time, and I didn't have any money. And at that time, there was a new hotel, the Intercontinental Hotel, right on the beach, and I went in there with the idea that I was going to beg for a room, and they informed me that the room was going to cost me $8, and so I said, okay, I'll take it, and that was the Intercontinental Hotel. And then I sort of gestured to them that I need to go out to get something to eat, so they gave me an address on a slip of paper, which I gave to the cab driver, who then charged me 13 cents for the cab ride. And then I got to this house, which was a beautiful restaurant, and I just sort of gestured that I want food, and they kept bringing me course after course after course, and I figured I was going to be washing dishes there for the rest of my life, and they brought me the bill for 67 cents. Oh. So that was my experience as a grad.
Well, it's not quite that. It's not quite those prices, Stan. But it's still compared to, you know, going to Rome or Paris or London, you can have a 5-star experience at a very affordable price in Croatia, all of Croatia. It's just really beautiful, and you can add Slovenia into it. I mean, you can hop over to Greece. I mean, the Medicis basically ruled Croatia. The Italians rule Croatia, so it's just, you know, it's a hop, skip, and a jump over the Aegean. There's ferries that go back and forth, so the whole area is amazing. And if you like truffles and if you like octopus, I have never had anything so delicious as the million different ways they prepare octopus in Croatia, and it's just right out of the sea. It's just incredibly delicious. So Beth.
Yeah, I have a question for Warren, because when I was in Croatia, it was my understanding that it was like wine was the best kept secret because they didn't do much exporting.
That's correct, Robert. There's not a lot. Now, wines from that region, Hungary, Croatia, etc. A lot of it was made there, but it is similar to South Africa. Under South Africa during apartheid days, we always had a very big local wine industry, but it sort of had lost out on the international exposure. And similarly in what was Czechoslovakia, Croatia, all of these countries in the Eastern Bloc during Soviet times were very, very insular and didn't export a lot of stuff and didn't really import a lot of the technology in winemaking and in technology in general into those economies for many, many years. But since the 90s in particular, as that issue has no longer been politically an obstacle to travel, to knowledge sharing, to technology collaboration, the quality of winemaking in these areas has improved dramatically, and their access to export markets has also improved tremendously. But I would say Croatia is still several decades behind Italy in terms of export volume, in terms of quality of their wines. There are many, many wines from Croatia that are, really enjoyable to drink. But it's coming along. It's not very easy to find them here in the U.S., but it is definitely getting easier and expanding more. And my experience with the wines is the quality improves year after year after year. The quality is improving. But I, as a general rule, I wouldn't say they're world-class wines yet. There are exceptions, like in Hungary. Royal Tokai is one of the greatest wines in all the world, the sweet dessert wine. And I've had some Croatian sparkling wine that you actually disgorge underwater, which is kind of a very cool thing. But I think the wines from Friuli in the north of Italy, for example, are better than Slovakian wines and Croatian wines. I think the reason with Lisa we're doing wines from Puglia, Primitivo, and etc., is because, as a general rule.
How about Sicily?
Oh, Sicily is off the hook. I mean, the wines in Sicily are just outstanding. And volcanic wines and the Etna Biancos, the sweet wines from Sicily, Benrier from Pantelleria. I mean, just Sicily is outstanding. And Spain too. I mean, we just had one wine from the Priorat. I mean, Spain, Rioja. Oh my God, the wines from Rioja, Jesus, right? I mean, just
that's right.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Maybe what we need to do is what another client of mine is doing is we do 4 half bottles in a session.
Yes.
That would be interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be good. The other thing is
That's a great idea.
We could also do, we could just do one country and do 3 regions. I mean, we could do Italy and do 3 regions in one country. I mean, we can just keep going. I mean, we're all locked in. We might as well just keep traveling the best we can. We can go back to Spain. We can go all over.
Right. We could also do things. I mean, not everything has to be a global adventure. I mean, there are a lot of places in the United States that are interesting to travel
Absolutely.
to. If we don't travel to them, there are a lot of regions in the U.S. So, for example, the Finger Lakes region of New York, I just got an email today. They're making Rieslings in the Finger Lakes region of New York that are rivaling the Mosel and Austria and other places. Of course, the wines from, we all know about the wines from California, but the wines from Washington State, from Oregon, are, also, extraordinary. And I mean, we could also just sort of, add a session or something like that and do sort of, the greatest wines of the world you've never heard of, and sort of have it be a bonus session. I mean, there are a lot of things we can do, but so I think just looking at the text here, I mean, Germany, Croatia sounds good. Chile is some beautiful wine. New Zealand is great. Revisiting France, I mean, it's a big country for wine, obviously. France, Italy. We did.
We didn't do Italy.
We haven't done. Have we not done Italy?
No, we haven't done Italy.
Well, I think we should think about Italy.
That's
So
what I think so.
We've done Piemonte. I think, Lisa, we did, you know, the Alta Adige, Friuli, right? We did the north of Italy. We've done Tuscany, Sicily. I think Stan is right. Sicily, firstly, a couple of things about Sicily. The wines are off the hook. And Sicily is sort of one of the, is from what I understand, you know, Lisa, Sandy, you tell me what I've read, is that Sicily is now the #1 fastest growing region for US tourists in Italy.
Mm-hmm. Sicily and Puglia are very hot destinations.
And the wines from Sicily outclass the wines in Puglia by a country mile. And I mean, the wines from Etna, Mount Etna, I'm doing with Lainey Sachs, your friend Sandy and Lisa, tomorrow night, I think, or next week.
No, I think it's next week.
Next week we're doing.
No, it's Thursday. Thursday, I think, is the first. Is it this Thursday? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Right.
So we're doing Sicily. We're doing a Cerasuola di Vittoria, which is the only DOCG red wine in Sicily, and the wine is really just tremendous. And you know, I think Sicily. Ginger.
No, I think she's talking to Lori or David.
Oh, okay.
So I have the distinction. According to the lady at the airport in Sicily, where I dropped off my car, of having driven all around Sicily for 2 weeks without getting a scratch on my car. She couldn't believe it. She walked around the car about 4 times, and so that was my distinction for Sicily. But the wine is unbelievably good.
Well, good. Well, I think we have a lot of good suggestions. It's now 6 o'clock, actually 2 minutes after 6. So thank you, Jesus. Jesus fortunately was in New Jersey, so at least he wasn't at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So we're very gracious, Jesus. It was really wonderful. We can't wait till we can go to Spain and have you create these incredible, fabulous itineraries for everyone. Okay, so stay tuned. Warren and I will come up with the next series 4 for us, which will be towards the end of October. And so in the meantime, stay safe. For those of you who are celebrating the new year, Shana Tova, a good one. Let's hope we get rid of all this junk here and move forward for a healthy, happy new year for everybody. So we'll see you in October. Stay tuned. I'll be in touch and we'll have details, and we look forward to it. It's just so much fun. I love seeing all of you, and this is just really terrific. Thank you.
And have a fun trip to Cabo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sandy.
Thanks, Sandy.
Bye.
Andy, Shana Tova.
Bye, Warren. See you tomorrow night, Warren.
Bye.
See you tomorrow, Lisa.
Yep. Bye.
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 Bye, Sandy.
Bye. Bye, Ram. Bye, Eileen.
Bye.
I'll see you guys next week.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Eileen.
Yeah, she just left. She had to go.
Oh, we had 2 Eileens.
Oh, different Eileen. Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You know, people, and then tomorrow I'll get all these emails about, oh God, I want to go to Spain and, you know, all that. So, you know, right now it's just kind of keeping all these destinations top of mind. Yeah. This was actually a smaller group. Usually we have more. I don't know why. A couple of people told me that they couldn't make it tonight, you know, and they'll probably get the recording or something like that. But still, we had about 25 people. So that was good.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Good crowd.
Great. So thank you so much. Now you can go back to your bride.
Yes. All right.
All right. Take care, Jesus. Thank you.
Bye-bye.